heroism. It's the pursuit of two ideals, excellence and a higher purpose. This noble mission is not just found in Hollywood. It's a game changer for businesses devoted to it. Almost all business owners launch their company to make a difference in the world around them. Join us on the Heroic Experience as we talk with business owners, senior leaders, and established entrepreneurs so that you too can elevate your business to heroic success. Now, here's your host, John D. Hanson.
Thank you so much for joining us on the Heroic Experience Show. I am so excited on two levels for this show today. Not only is this the very first Heroic Experience show, but we also have on with us a very special guest. This show is sponsored by Coffman Media. You can check out their digital signage solutions and more at their website, coffmanmedia.com. It's spelled COFFMAN media.com. The second reason I'm so excited about this first show ever for the Heroic Experience is that we have Jason Ault, co-founder and COO of Coffman Media, joining us today. Jason, thank you so much for, first of all, supporting the show, but then for being on with us. We're looking forward to our conversation today.
John, it's a pleasure, and we are so excited to support the show and also just as excited to be on.
Well, we're going to kick things off as we always do in the first segment, and I'm sure you've got a handful of these. You probably have a ton of them. We love to hear the stories of the before and after, the wow stories of you have a client that may not even be aware of who you are and what you do. You come in, provide a solution, and all of a sudden things dramatically improve for them. So what, off the top of your head, is one of the most powerful stories you can think of a client's success with Coffman Media?
Yeah, absolutely. So the one that always comes top of mind is a food service provider company. They work with a very large tech corporation that they provide all the food in their cafeteria. So they're like a Google where they offer free food and they have buffet lines, etc. And they have offices in Seattle and Austin, Texas. And they had these screens, which were nothing more than an Amazon tablet above every food service station to talk about ingredients and allergens and time of placement and the whole nine yards. Well, that was becoming such a risk for them because as they grew, they had about 400 of these devices out
Wow.
there. There was all the time having errors. Mm-hmm. And, food allergies can be, very, very dangerous to mess with, and that be just a, human error element. That's a big risk to take on. So they were kind of playing with fire as they were scaling this solution. So they found us, we crossed paths, and we were ended up able to help them create a menu service software where they can go in and they can select ingredients and never miss an allergen because the software is purpose-built to where if they select shellfish, it automatically has the shellfish allergen, or peanuts, it has the nut allergen symbol, and then automatically, do some time of day placement so they stay in regulation with local health codes, and really create this automated system for them that not only save them from, God forbid, an error for health reasons, but then also just from a perspective of, human capital time. They got a lot of time back because the chef wasn't having to go around and looking for errors. We streamlined and automated a lot of this, and so now they're able to take that and scale it to not only that customer they provide food for, but now they're putting it through other organizations across the country that they're providing food for. So that's always a really great win for us to help save potential error of health, potential savings of human capital, and just create a really neat digital signage solution.
Two things that came to mind as you were sharing that story, and thank you for telling us about that, because oftentimes people, when they think of digital signage, and I did as well before I became familiar with Coffman Media, I think of TVs. I think of,
Sure.
Okay, so it's not a static billboard. It's something that can flip screen. But as you were sharing that, you were talking about programming, software. You're talking about compliance. You're talking about time savings, of course, more effective communication. You're talking about automation. And then you also introduced in that story things that people might not think of, the environments that these digital signage products or services or hardware is going into. You're dealing with food, water. You're dealing with light, people traffic, sometimes automobile traffic, all those things that go into the factors. It's a very complex, and I know we'll get into details in this in the third segment. It's more than just a TV that's mounted on the wall, as most people might think of when they think of digital signage. I'll be very curious in that last segment to learn about the ins and outs and some of the things that we just don't know about digital signage. We still have a few minutes left in this first segment. Is there another story that comes to mind that you greatly enjoyed, your team greatly enjoyed doing, that as an industry people might not think about when it comes to digital signage?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've had a customer here in Columbus, Ohio, it was the Greater Columbus Convention Center, that were able to do digital signage, but put it into an art format. So there is a artist, Piet Mondrian. I'm sure everyone has seen, if you Google Mondrian paintings, you would recognize the print pattern. And we were able to create a mosaic video wall of his ornate designs, and then have 6 screens in different orientations that we're able to now showcase local artistry through. So, digital signage is really just a FedEx of information. That could be something that's experiential, such as art, or to the point of the previous story, really solving for a problem, or it could just be, like we've seen before, marketing. So it's really just that FedEx of information in a digital format, making sure we get it from A to B, at the right time, and then, for the intended viewer, and making sure it stays online.
Yeah, and digital media is a format that, especially these younger generations, they've grown up with it their whole lives. They don't necessarily know any different. It's actually part of the backdrop of their lives. Does that make it somewhat challenging when you're designing this for a company to make it stand out, but not in such a way that looks like a sore thumb?
It does. I mean, it definitely has to, fit the environment. I was just on a phone call yesterday, and there has to be, a digital element to this particular organization, but it's got to fit their aesthetic. So they're going to design this gold leaf frame, very ornate, that's going to go around this 65-inch display that then they're going to use to, put some real-time live data on that they're going to turn into wavelengths in real time. So, what we do has to fit aesthetically into the organization. It's got to fit the workflow, and it's just got to stay relevant, not just to the environment, but relevant to the actual culture inside of an organization.
So it's not just about putting letters and numbers and words on a screen and then mounting that to the wall. There's a design element that comes into, and a cultural element that factors in. Fascinating. All right, so
100%.
We've got just about a minute or so left before our first break. What I'd love to hear is, what was the most interesting, exciting destination your team went to when you've done digital signage installations? What would you say was most fascinating?
The most fascinating was Saudi Arabia, and that was just because the challenge of getting product to country through customs, and then actually doing installation there. So that was probably the most fascinating, challenging, and eye-opening from us as an organization.
Wow. Now, has your team, how many states, have you been tracking how many states in the country, and then how many countries your team has been a part of? I'd be curious to know what the tally's up to by now.
I've not, but I should heat map that. So I'm going to take that as an action item, John.
That'd be fascinating. Well, we are up against our first break. We have Jason Ault, the co-founder and COO of Coffman Media, with us. Digital signage is what we're talking about. Not necessarily the normal topic you'd think about in business, but gosh, communication through the digital platform is very effective nowadays when it's done right. Join us in the second segment when we learn more about Jason and Coffman Media. See you soon.
Inspire, influence, and connect your audience with digital signage. Coffman Media offers customizable digital signage solutions designed to meet your company's specific goals. Whether you need digital menu boards for your quick service restaurant, digital displays for marketing in your retail stores, or wayfinding and unified communications for your schools, your corporations, or your healthcare facility, our customizable, affordable options and proven experience make us the only partner you'll need for your next digital signage project. Visit CoffmanMedia.com today to learn more. That's COFFMAN Media.com.
Remember the days when you first started your business? You wanted to make a difference. You wanted to add value to your loved ones, your future employees, your customers, and your community. Here at Accelerated Revenue, we focus on cost savings, customer and employee experience, and cash flow to help your business achieve more while doing less. Freedom. Contact us today to schedule a no-obligation introduction, either at our website, accrev.com, or give us a call at 614-789-3486.
check out John's worldwide selling book, Wow Your Customers, 7 Ways to World-Class Service on Amazon. Now, once again, here's John.
Welcome back to the Heroic Experience, sponsored by Coffman Media. Check out their digital signage solutions and more at their website, coffmanmedia.com. That's spelled COFFMAN media.com. Doubly excited to have Jason Ault, co-founder and COO of Coffman Media, with us today as our guest. And so, Jason, the second segment of the show, here we go. We would love to hear your story. Go far back as you'd like of how did Jason end up talking to me here and having a great conversation about digital signage.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, buckle your seatbelt. No, I'm just kidding. So I've been in this thing called entrepreneurship, probably since I was 11 years old, working alongside my dad, who has always, been, building businesses and doing things, since he was a kid. You learn that from his dad. So it's just been this kind of generational thing. And even so, out of college, I ended up joining my father and my uncle in a traditional signage company. So you think backlit signs, neon signs, mall signs, freeway pylon signs, the whole 9 yards. And that's kind of where I started cutting my true teeth in this, thing of entrepreneurship and business building and things of that nature. And, around 2007, we took on a mall development project in northern Ohio that, was around this train station concept, and there was an element of digital signage into that. And, my whole philosophy is always commit first and then figure out a way to do it. It's a yes, but, what's the question? And so we told the customer, sure, absolutely, we can do that. And then we just went to work. The traditional signage stuff for the package was that was a piece of cake. But this digital piece really had to have some understanding around it. We had to have outdoor displays. So not only did we start small, we started really complex. So it's like, holy moly, here we go.
Jumped right in, yeah.
Right, yeah. My background is in network design and computer information systems. So, it was a fun challenge for me. And then once we implemented that system, I caught the bug. And, then we had 2008-9 happen, and the signage world, really just dried up a bit because the building and production kind of stopped. There wasn't a whole lot of construction projects going on at the time. So, I kind of just, developed this, desire to build something that was more in the tech lane, that was more along my background. And so in 2010, we ended up launching Coffman Media. It was myself and my father. He had spun off from the traditional signage business as well, and then a longtime friend of mine, Eric Madden. And we hung up our shingle as Coffman Media, and we've been an inch wide, mile deep in the digital signage space ever since. And, growing this firm from, the very first customer all the way to right now, we power about 326 individual clients. I know you asked the question in the last segment, where they were across the United States, and all of that. But we've been fortunate enough to, do U.S., Mexico, Canada, Trinidad, Tobago, Jamaica, Saudi Arabia, Europe. So we've been very fortunate to kind of scale this thing. And, the great thing about it for us is, no two projects are alike. I always tell the story of, I can put a hospital system A and a hospital system B side by side. From the surface level, from the patient level, they are identical, but how they use digital signage could be completely 180 from one another because everyone has something different that they want to deliver in a digital footprint. So that's really, why I caught this bug. It was just this great technology people could use as a means to streamline productivity, streamline human capital, streamline marketing, get rid of the complex logistics of rolling out menu changes for restaurants. It's really just become this really neat medium, and now we can add this experiential element with the technology and have live interaction of if I do X, Y, or Z physically inside of an organization, I can alter, what I might see on that screen as a true experience. So the world is endless, and that's kind of, where, I saw it almost 12 years ago. Hard to believe that it was just this ever-changing industry that, was just exciting to be a part of.
Yeah, and when I thought of digital signage, I obviously thought of the technology. I thought of the computer side of things, maybe even the software a little bit. Definitely the hardware, flat screens everywhere, electronics, but I didn't think of the art or the design or the variety you're talking about. What are some of the aspects of this on the softer side of the business, the art and design and such, that people might not think about the elements? You started talking about it, outdoors, or the depending the industry they're in, or the space that they want this to go into. Could you share some of the art and the design, the softer side of what you all do that actually is probably far more complex than the technology itself?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, it's really just that delivery of a message. So it's very simple, when you're looking at it from a 30,000-foot view, but how that is done, can be very complex. For instance, we're working on a transit system for an airport right now, and not only did we have to, have our displays be able to be powered by DC power, because obviously we can't plug in the displays into an outlet while it's moving on a mobile vehicle, but then we have to power it with cellular data, so now we have to bring a modem into the bus as well. And then the airport wants to be able to give real-time data through a GTFS feed. So basically it's the feed that's talking about, if I'm going to be late and miss my flight, how long is it from this red lot all the way to my terminal where I need to go? All of these data points, and it's all, we're just this amalgamation of data, and then we're visually making it aesthetic and delivering it to a screen. So, it may look very pretty on the screen in what you see, but there is a ton of infrastructure and data that could be driving what you're actually seeing on that display. And then we get into the experiential side where we can truly have, weather affect what you see on the display. We can have who's viewing the display affect what is on the display. So we can look at sentiment. So if it says, oh, I know Jason, he looks like he's really angry, I need to play the content that we have programmed for his sentiment of anger right now. Or, your gender or your demographics. So we can take all of these kinds of things into account and use that to alter what is shown on the screen.
So the communication itself of the message that's coming out is actually quite simple compared to all of the behind the scenes that people don't see about power, about geolocation, about, I had no idea that digital signage was interactive, so to speak, where it's reading the person. I can get this. I'm sure there aren't all this way, but it can get to that kind of depth of they want it to read the person in front, and then it changes or it morphs to fit that person where it's so experiential. No idea of that. So one quick question as we're coming up to a break here shortly. What would you say is the thing that you enjoy the most about what you do in digital signage?
The challenge that every project has, even if it's the most basic one screen, with a software license and they're showing PowerPoint style content on it, it could be very complex because maybe it is going up 100 feet in the air and we have to figure out how to, do that safely. Or, it is a very complex situation. So just, the challenge that every project presents itself.
Yeah, that's so cool. No project is ever exactly the same, and variety is the spice of life, as they say. Well, we're up against a break. We look forward to coming back to the last segment to learn specifically about the solutions and services Coffman Media provides. We'll see you back on the other side of the break here at the Heroic Experience.
Did you know that 70% of U.S. residents 12 and older recall seeing digital signage in the past week? Digital signage provides a 35% reduction in perceived wait time with a 30% increase in a customer's in-store browsing time. Coffman Media offers customizable digital signage solutions designed to meet your company's specific goals. Christina said,
"We love our digital signage. The software is easy to use and we can publish content in minutes. It allows for every department to be seen and have a voice."
Visit KoffmanMedia.com today to learn more. That's COFFMAN Media.com.
Attention business owners, could your company benefit from stronger cash flow and strategies to navigate disruption? Join us in November as Accelerated Revenue hosts an in-person free seminar here in Columbus, Ohio, with networking opportunities and engaging speakers that will both help grow your business in every economy. Stay tuned to this show, The Heroic Experience, for more details, or visit our website, accrev.com. That's accrev.com.
Would you like to be a guest on the Heroic Experience? Contact us at john.hansen@accrev.com. Now, once again, here's John.
Welcome back to the Heroic Experience. The last segment here, we want to thank Coffman Media for being our sponsor. Check out their digital signage solutions at their website, coffmanmedia.com. That's spelled COFFMAN media.com. We're so glad to have Jason Ault, the co-founder and COO of Coffman Media, as our guest. In this last segment, we really want to dive into the nuts and bolts, so to speak, of digital signage, the technology that goes into it. Why the solutions? Let me ask you this, Jason. Why is digital signage so important for a business owner, no matter what size, nowadays?
It's a fantastic question. One, it's going to solve some sort of communication problem for any organization. I don't care if it's the chiropractor next door or, a complex, multi-site, multinational corporation. And you just have to figure out what that problem is. And that's where we start doing questions and doing an analysis with the customer of just understanding their business, where there might be key pain points. And then, we backfill that and showing them how digital signage can help alleviate and taking the pressure off. Maybe it's communication, or maybe it's the marketing and, design team, and getting out timely changes to the menu boards, or they've just lost the communication from the corporate level. And, the people in the multi-sites that aren't necessarily working with HQ, they lose some of that culture and brand voice that is supposed to be so strong and prevalent throughout their organization. So we can do some unified communication with digital signage for those types of folks. So it's just really, asking questions and figuring out how we can use the technology of digital signage to solve some of those problems for them.
Yeah, and that's often the examples we think of are in the airport, in restaurants, maybe in a hospital. But say you're a small business owner. You mentioned chiropractic office, where you've got just a handful of people working there and a handful of clients that are through on a regular basis. Well, they might think, I can't afford that. Like, I know I could go get a flat screen TV, but all the programming, all the design, what would be something you would say to a small business owner that thinks, I'd like to add that component, but I'm not quite sure if we can fit that into a budget. What has your experience been when you work with small business owners and install a digital signage project for them?
You're spot on. Small business, usually has a mindset of they can't afford digital signage. That, was probably more true, 10 years ago. But now, hardware has changed dramatically to where we still have enterprise-grade hardware that's really, really expensive for certain complex rollouts. But we do have something like the Amazon Fire Stick that our software now can go on, that you can plug into any TV that chiropractor or small business roofing company may already have. And then we show you how to repurpose content that you are already producing, and whether that's through your social media channels, or heck, even in the chiropractor example, have the doc create short little snippets of video on their iPhone or Android phone, and then we show them how to upload it. You don't have to be a graphic design wizard in order to make really compelling and visually aesthetic content when it comes down to just wanting to engage your audience. And that's not to discredit high graphic intense rollouts, because we have those as well. But from the small business all the way to enterprise, digital signage can fit budgets.
Yeah, and the bulk of, I just found this startling statistic in a good way. The SBA, Small Business Administration, said that in Ohio, 99.6% of businesses are small, 100 employees or less, which is a remarkable number, of almost all of them. So there's plenty of opportunity for companies of any size, small, medium, large, Fortune 100, to benefit from digital signage. And one thing you touched on was, in your experience, what have you found about messaging? Is authenticity more important than polish at a lot of different levels? What's been your experience in that space?
Authenticity will trump polished every time. We've had people that try to reproduce the Monday Night Football where you have the, almost 4D look and you have the employees spinning around and whatnot. That's all really cool. But the highest engagement is just being transparent with your viewership, whether that's your customers, employees, or whoever it may be, and giving them data that's important and relevant to them, making them feel like you care and you want to share that data and making sure they're being informed and they're not left in the dark.
Yeah, and one of the most powerful ways to engage, and they've proven it time and again, Donald Miller, Story Brand Marketing, is telling stories. Stories are what engage people. How do you use digital signage to tell a story?
Absolutely. For instance, Rogue Fitness is a great client of ours, and they've got these massive video walls in their production plant floors. And it's not even a marketing story they're telling, but they're telling a story of real data and numbers that the employees that are out there, grinding the steel, working with the metal, are truly making a difference with the product that they're, pouring their blood, sweat, and tears into and shipping out. And so they're using it to tell the story of what the work you're doing today matters. Here's all the product that goes out. Here's, how safe everyone has been. Here is the Olympians using our equipment. So it doesn't have to be this grandiose story. It's just telling a story that matters. And sometimes that's not even a visually appealing story. It could be, a data-driven story of just real-time data on a manufacturing plant floor that might not mean, something to everyone, but it means everything to those people on the floor.
Yeah, right. Reconnecting to their why. Why are they there? People nowadays, especially in these younger generations, it's not so much about the paycheck. It's about, am I making a difference? And
that's right.
I think perhaps, and this helped me shift my perspective on digital signage, I always thought of advertising. I didn't think of the communication piece, nor did I think of the workplace morale. So you talked about, the pride of seeing our logo, our products in the hands of an Olympian that people around the world are seeing. And I helped make that. Maybe not that specific one, but I helped make those. That's a connection. Talk about a morale booster. And people seeing themselves in a small town in particular, when you see testimonials, videos of someone talking about their experience, it's almost like their 15 seconds of fame. So it can be used in so many powerful ways. I would definitely encourage, what would be the first place you'd recommend people check out your website? Where should they go first, Jason?
Coffmanmedia.com, and just spend some time looking through the different industries. Each page, has some visual representation of that industry and how they're using digital signage, and then just reach out and talk with us about the idea that you have, because if you don't start explaining the idea, we'll never be able to help you figure out and flesh that out and make the dream come true or solve the problem or pain point. And it's funny, you mentioned testimonials and that 15 seconds of fame. We had another retail client, but it was the operations center for this retailer, and they created, it was called The Voice, a moniker off of the singing show, but it was literally, they were listening to all of the social chatter of their brand online, and they were showing the good, the bad, and the ugly. They were creating transparency. They were also showing the 15 seconds of fame from when someone put a customer review and said, "Hey, Sally was fantastic and she really helped me today." But they were also showing, the folks that would say, "Hey, this was a horrible experience." And then that, would be like, "Oh, shoot, I didn't have the best day yesterday. I really need to elevate my game." And almost created this gamification within the organization, which just boosted morale, tenfold. So
fantastic.
It's a lot of things past just the marketing, past just the billboards that we all see that are now digital. It literally is just the FedEx of communication, and that's going to be different for anybody, just like we all have different things we put in our own FedEx boxes that we deliver or have delivered. Digital signage is the exact same.
Well, thanks for joining us, Jason. Thanks for being on The Heroic Experience. Listen to us again as we have another guest on every week that helps elevate your business to heroic success.
This has been The Heroic Experience. To learn how your business can be profitable and heroic, visit ACCREV.com. For access to free weekly content, subscribe to the Accelerated Revenue YouTube channel and follow John D. Hanson on LinkedIn. To listen to archived shows, find them on the Accelerated Revenue website under the Resources tab, ACCREV.com.